Astro Bot, Game of the Year or not? Here at Coffee and Controller Blanche, we only communicate like the 90s where it's only about the facts. That's all we want. We now cut to a man on the street to tell us his opinion on things that we don't really care about. Hey, tell me about Astro Boy.
What? Astro Boy? That children's game? Nah, my bro. Everybody's like glazing at their facing. It's Game of the Year. My bro, how can a children's game be Game of the Year? I don't understand. They must play real games with like real mechanics like shooting and stuff. We don't need that. Nah, they're just glazing PlayStation. I don't get that.
That's enough. Thank you. And now we speak to someone who's actually played the game, who knows something about something. Tell us.
Thank you very much for having me, Yasin. It's a privilege to be here on Coffee and Controller Blanche. Well, today I'm going to be talking about Astro Bot. I do definitely believe it's a Game of the Year contender, but let's go back to the beginning, right? Let's go back to what the game is about. The game starts basically with Astro and 300 of his robot friends flying through space in a PS5, which let's not ask any questions about that. The ship is attacked by a giant green alien, which I think is maybe a dig at Xbox. I'm not entirely sure. The green alien destroys the PS5 and scatters Astro's 300 robot friends across the galaxy. Now you have two things to do in the game. Find your friends, fix the PlayStation 5 so you can fly away. And basically this takes Astro on a amazingly fun-filled journey throughout many galaxies, many levels, and many amazing PlayStation Easter eggs. So let's start with the only negative I can think of. This thing right here. And I know that sounds a bit counterintuitive. However, it highlights the one problem with the PS5, and that's the battery in here. The game relies so heavily on the haptics and the gyroscope in here, and you can even blow into the speaker to make things turn, that it eats the battery way faster than you can play the game. So now that the negatives out of the way, let's focus on the game and all its positives, right? The main positive for me is that this seems like a platformer of old, a classic PlayStation platformer. It reminded me so much of the Crash Bandicoot games. It's basically split up into multiple big galaxies that have 5 different levels in it. Each level is uniquely themed. So there's a casino, there's a pirate island, there's a Japanese bathhouse. There's so many different levels and all of them play differently. It's small condensed levels, which you can finish in 5 minutes easily while rescuing all your little robot friends and unlocking a lot of cool PlayStation Easter eggs, like I said. Almost every level you hop into, you need to do a few things. You need to run, you need to jump, you have 2 attacks, and you need to collect things, right? But about 2/3 of the levels have a unique power up that you get at the beginning of the level. And that could be anything from giving you extra punching power. One of them turns you into a sponge, and every time you jump in water, then you soak up the water and you turn into a giant, and then you can just destroy the whole level basically. One of them shrinks you down to like a mouse size to get into little nooks and crannies of the level. It just takes what could have been a very, very basic platformer, which would have been a great thing as well, and just adds that extra little level of challenge to it basically, which I think is amazing. The collectibles basically are your little robot friends that you're rescuing from these little planets. But about 1/3 of these robots that you find on these planets are all themed to PlayStation exclusive games. So for example, there's Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn, there's Kratos, Atreus, Mimir, Thor, there's Okami, there's Ratchet and Clank, there's Spyro, there's Crash Bandicoot, there's all these little robot-themed guys that you find. It's a lot of fun little throwbacks to the PlayStation exclusives that we loved back in the day, basically. So in summary, this is a modern platformer done right. Like I said earlier, it doesn't fall into the trap of making everything a massive open world. It's tiny little sandboxes that you can finish in 5 minutes. You can play around in, you can get lost in, and if you get to the end of the level and you realize, oh flip, I forgot to rescue something or I forgot to unlock one thing, you just jump straight back in because it doesn't feel like a slog. Like I said, games like Crash Bandicoot, It's About Time, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank, it's too big, in my opinion, for a platformer. Platformers should feel smaller, which is what Astro Bot does so well. It's a love letter to the PlayStation brand. If you've owned a PlayStation from the PS1 through to the PS5, including PSPs, including PS Vitas, you will find something in this game that you love. And that's why I think that this game is the best platformer I've played since Crash Bandicoot 3, the best modern platformer by a mile, and I would give it a 9 out of 10. So thank you very much for having me on Coffee and Controller Blanche, Yasin. I look forward to many more reviews in the future. It's been a privilege and an honor.
And that's all we have for Astro Bot from Coffee and Controller Blanche. That's it.